Yo, what's up everybody? It's Vikton here with my video on the 3.19 patch notes. These are pretty good patch notes. I am pretty excited for the next league. It's actually going to be a pretty solid league to be a minion player. So that's actually what this video is going to be pretty much only talking about is minions. I'm your minion guy, so I'm going to be talking about mainly minions. There's a whole bunch of other stuff going on in the patch notes for a whole bunch of other builds, a whole bunch of other uniques that are changing. I'm going to leave that to some of the other content creators out there. We're going to focus on minions, and I'm going to get you guys everything that you need to know, at least in my opinion, about what is going to be hot this league, what's going to be the meta, I think, and what are some of the losers as well based on these patch notes. Good news though is that I think there's a lot of great changes in general, and I think there's going to be a lot of different builds that we can play that are going to be strong. You know, in the past it was skeleton mages, right? And there's maybe a couple other builds that were top tier, but I think this league there's probably going to be 5 or 6 different variations of minion builds that are going to be A tier and above. I do think there's going to be probably 2 to 3 S tier minion builds. We'll talk about those here in this video. But yeah, we're going to go over all the patch notes. This isn't going to be too long a video because I did make some handy dandy notes here that we'll go over. You can read on the screen if you don't really want to, or you can just listen to me. But yeah, we're going to do that, and I'm going to kind of talk about at the very end some of the league starters that I'm going to go ahead and create this week and prep for next league for you guys. So we're going to talk about that at the end. All right, so let's go ahead and start at the very top. As you're going to see here, if you were actually looking and kind of reading on the screen, the one in black here is actually copied from the patch notes themselves. And I have some of my notes underneath, and I'll probably talk a little bit more than just my notes. But yeah, so minions in general got a ton of changes this league. And I think this is one of the bigger points when we're talking about minions. Their solution to what they consider is a problem with minions, which I personally do not consider it a problem, is lower minion base life and damage, but provide more ways for players to invest into minions on their gear, on your gear, allowing minion damage and survivability to be higher than previously possible for a character with strong items. Now, here's the issue with that, right? Minions, I think, were a very good build for either newer players or casual players that just wanted to chill, right? That's kind of the reason you play minion builds, right? Is so you don't have to use your brain as much. You can literally just summon some minions and kind of let them do the damage for you. It's a little bit easier of a play style to learn the game for sure. So I think that's what kind of attracted some of the players to this type of play style, right? So now we're changing that. We are now going away from making it like gym level based to more stats that you get on your gear, right? So for example, like minion damage is going to be more important on your gear. Minion steal increase X damage, like fire, cold, lightning, physical. All of that stuff is going to be more important in this league, and all of that's going to come from the gear that you either find or craft. Whereas before, you got more stronger as you kind of just leveled up your character, right? As you got more gem levels, and then even on some pieces of gear, you could get gem levels as well. And it was pretty simple and straightforward, but they don't like that apparently, so we're switching to this. In general, I think it sucks for the newer players and the casual players for sure, like I said, because it's not going to be as straightforward to gear out your characters. I think once we get used to it, it'll be fine, but no matter what I say or anybody says, it's still going to be more effort in order to gear out your characters than it ever was before. Whether that's a good or bad thing, I definitely leave that up to you guys to make that decision. At the end of the day, we probably will have stronger characters than before, but you're gonna have to invest a little bit more into the gear that you wear on your character. So kind of an interesting change. We'll have to see how that goes. Minions no longer have hidden penalties for bleeding, ignite, poison damage, and summon Reaper no longer has hidden bonus damage to bleed damage. As a result, minions now deal approximately twice as much poison damage, 3.5 times as much ignite damage, and 7 times as much bleeding damage. Now, this is crazy. This is what's going to open up a ton of builds this league for different minion builds. So there's a couple builds that really stick out when we're talking about this. One is several people's kind of favorites. I know this is like Gazzy's one of Gazzy's favorite builds. I think even like Zizarin really liked this build. Animate Weapon Poison build. I've played it in the past before, and I can attest as well, it is a very strong build. And now it's going to be even stronger because now poison is going to be doing 2.5 as much damage. I'm sorry, twice as much poison damage as before. So it's literally 100% more multiplier essentially. It's so much extra damage, which is going to be really, really strong. So poison animate weapon, we'll talk about it more in this video later, but it is for sure, in my opinion, going to be an S tier build this league. It's going to be one of the best boss killers. It's probably going to be the best boss killer for, well, maybe one or two. We'll talk about the second other one for minions and generals, and I think it's probably going to be one of the better boss killers for all builds this league. So looking forward to that. We'll talk about it a little bit more here. And any build in general that is a physical build that's converting to poison is going to be pretty solid for this as well. If you guys know, there's an item that drops from the Cheula Breachstones. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's like United in Dream or something, Severed in Sleep, and use the Cheula blessing to upgrade it, right? And it's giving you 60% chance to poison, and you can now also roll on Ghastly Jewels, chance to poison as well. We'll have to see what the rolls for those are. I'm curious if we can get up to 100% chance to poison on hit. I bet we can. And if we can, that is super solid. 100% chance to poison will be fantastic. There's some other good winners that might come from that. So any build that's doing physical damage. So you could even do like poison phantasms might be pretty good as well. You want to stack up those poisons as fast as possible, which is a reason that animate weapon works so well, because you have so many animate weapons attacking at the same time. Same thing for phantasms. You do have quite a few phantasms out attacking at the same time. Another cool thing could be phantasmal summon skeleton, and if you guys have never heard of that, it makes your summoned skeletons turn all into skeleton archers. So that actually might be the new Skelly Mages. We'll have to see. That's kind of interesting. But you turn all the damage into chaos, and then you make it all into poison chance, and they could be doing some pretty strong poison damage. Anyways, anything that is physical, you could definitely be doing some poison shenanigans with that, and I bet it would be pretty good. So that whole Soul Rest build with Phantasms, if you guys remember that, I bet that's going to be a pretty strong league starter or mid-league build. Carrion Golem, same thing. I bet that's going to be pretty good even if you convert that poison. So some cool stuff there. Now for the Ignite portion of it, what is it? 3.5 times as much Ignite damage. That's crazy, guys. So summon Raging Spirits with minion instability and blowing them up and igniting is going to be pretty cool. I bet that's going to be doing a lot of damage. Potentially some Spectres that do fire damage could be pretty cool if they're going to be doing some big ignites. Like I know one of the big fire Spectres out there is those, what are they called, the Goatmen or whatever. I bet those Spectres could actually be pretty interesting. I bet they'd be doing a lot of damage, so that's interesting. The only problem with Spectres is, and I haven't mentioned this yet, but all minions in general, including Spectres, lost 30% maximum life. That's freaking insane. Honestly, that's a little bit much, in my opinion. If you guys have ever used Spectres in the past, they die pretty fast early on, so now expect them to die even faster. Pretty crazy. It's going to be a little bit rough to play Spectres like really early on, but I do think that could be an interesting build, doing Goatmen with Ignite on there as well, because that's going to be, I think, a lot of damage. Technically, Summon Reaper is going to be doing some crazy damage, 7 times as much bleeding damage. Holy shit. But it's kind of a meme. Summon Reaper is pretty god-awful as a skill itself, but I think it even got some, we'll talk about this later, I think it even got some buffs as a skill, but, you know, I don't know. That's just a garbage skill, but it did get a lot of damage, so maybe, we'll see. Maybe it's going to be a bosser that does crazy damage, we'll have to see. Okay, cool. So moving on to the next one. But yeah, just to cover that, really good changes. That's going to add several builds to the, you know, A tier, S tier. So pretty excited for those changes. Minions now gain the same bonuses from Endurance, Frenzy, and Power Charges as players do, rather than significantly elevated bonuses that other monsters gain. So this is huge bad for us, huge bad. We're basically losing our support Spectres, like the monkeys that we used to get, that gave power charges and frenzy charges. There is no reason to get those anymore. They're pretty worthless, so that feels bad. So we're going to lose actually quite a bit of damage by not having those support Spectres anymore. Now we're going to be doing stuff like the Arena Master Spectre for support, the Pale Seraphim. Oh man, what is that other one? The other one that gives like 60% increased physical damage. I can't remember the name for that. And then maybe even like a They Have Toll for defenses, or maybe even like those bubble guys that are like the upper scepter of God that make like a bubble shield around you. Those are kind of cool. And then maybe even for your fourth one, you could get something that does like a curse or something, right? Like vulnerability curse or flammability curse, you know, something like that. Could be interesting. That's going to be the new setup for your specters. But yeah, that's really bad. So we lost pretty much all minion builds, lost quite a bit of damage with that. Feels bad. Next one, Necromancer's Unnatural Strength Notable. Ascendancy no longer provides +2 to level of all minion skill gems, instead now grants Unholy Might. So if you guys don't know, Unholy Might basically is giving your physical damage, it's giving you extra chaos damage. I think it's what, 30% of your physical damage is extra chaos damage. So that's very specific, right? So it's now really only good for poison builds. So that kind of sucks in general. I think that's an awful change. I think it should have been like, I mean, I get what they're trying to do here, but a necromancer, like that's the archetype, right? The archetype of a summoner is a necromancer. You want them to be summoning a bunch of stuff, and you just took away their best node, their best ascendancy point. I think that was awful. I would have said they'd like, you know, +1 to level of all minion skill gems, and then maybe like a quality of life thing. I think that would have been an okay change, but removing that altogether is pretty rough. Not many people are going to be able to benefit from that Unholy Might. So pretty bad overall. I don't like that change. Basically what that means now is that people are going to probably want to go Guardian or even Scion, and still Necromancer as well, because Necromancer is still good, especially because you're getting the use of Bone Shield. I'm sorry, not Bone Shield. The block chance from Bone Offering, right? So you're going to still share all that block chance with your minions. So you're still going to be able to get block capped by going a Necromancer. So defensive wise, it's still very strong. It's a good combination of defensive and offensive. But yeah, I think, you know, for all those guys that want to go tons of damage out there, it's not Necromancer anymore. It's probably Scion is the highest damage. And then below that is probably Guardian, which has like pretty good damage and then like a little bit of tankiness. And then the good like all-arounder is now going to be Necromancer. So interesting. I don't like it, but it is what it is. Okay, so now we're going to talk about minion skills themselves. Absolution. Sentinels of Absolution now deal approximately 25% less damage at gem level 1, scaling approximately 5% gem level, 5% less damage at gem level 20. So not too bad of a nerf there. What, 5% damage loss? Really not too bad. The player version of the skill now has +0 to radius at gem level 1, which is unchanged, up to +6 at gem level 20, which was previously +4, which is pretty good. So you're going to get a little bit more AoE. That was already a pretty small AoE, like when you cast it yourself, so now you're going to get a little bit more, which is pretty nice. Both the player and minion versions of the skill now have 6% base critical strike chance, previously 5, so that's a really good boost there. And I'm not sure if I even included it in my notes here, but let me give you guys a little tidbit on why that's good. So they did change the tree around a little bit to, they actually have critical strike chance for minions nodes on the tree. There's a few clusters that actually give critical strike chance. So that's kind of interesting when we're upping the base critical strike chance on this. It might be worth it to get some of those critical strike nodes for like an Absolution build. So that's kind of interesting. The regular minion skill now has 180% increased effectiveness out of damage, previously 100%, and the empowered version has 130, previously 100. So damage boost in general, really strong. So effective added damage. So like if you get increased added lightning damage to minions, that's going to be really good. It's going to be a lot better than it was previously. So overall, I would say Absolution got a buff. Definitely got a buff, because they also, I think I also don't have this in my notes, but they're also changing the ghastly jewels. If you remember, you know, if it has like minions have plus whatever to plus whatever, increase added lightning damage, fire damage, cold damage, physical, all that sort of stuff, those got buffed. They're now doing 50% more, right? So if it was like 5 to 10 cold damage, it's now going to be doing, you know, 8 to 14 cold damage, right? So I picked a small number there, but in general, it's a lot more, right? 50% more added damage, and they increased the effectiveness of added damage on a lot of skills. You'll notice that as I talk about all this, but 180% from 100% is really good. So I think this is going to be a very strong build, and I'm going to talk about Absolution when we get down to the item changes later. I think Absolution is going to be an S tier all-around build, and potentially one of the, if not the best, bossing character period in the game. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about it. I think this is probably going to be one of the better league starters as well. Once we get to the items down there, I'll talk about that a little bit more. Animate weapon. So this is the other big boy of the league. This is going to be the other S tier build for summoners. Animate weapon, not many changes here. Now costs 4 mana, unchanged up to 16 mana, previously 12. So that's actually pretty rough. It's costing a little bit more mana, but that's not going to affect us too much because of the unique chest that we're going to be using in this build. But until you get that chest, it's probably going to be a little rough. You're probably going to have to use Clarity. You might even have to get the Mastery node on the tree that's like, 100% increased, 100% reduced Clarity. What is it? Effectiveness of the mana reservation. I would probably get that if you're doing this, so you can level up your Clarity pretty high, because it's going to be a little bit rough to cast that until you get your chest piece. But overall, with the changes to poison, Animate weapon is going to be a bonkers build this league. Going poison animate weapon. I will have a league starter build for animate weapon. Probably here in the next couple days. Be on the lookout for that. This is potentially and probably what I'm going to be playing for my league starter this league is an animate weapon character. So if you're interested in that, stick around. I think it's going to be really, really solid. I'm going to rush bosses, and I'm probably going to farm pure Chayulas and go for a whole bunch of those the Severed in Sleep swords, because I think they're going to sell for quite a bit this league, and I think this build will be able to carry this build will be able to carry 6-man parties very effectively and do the boss at the end solo. So pretty good. Aracali's Fang Viper Strike used by Race the Spiders now has duration of 4 seconds, previously 8. No longer has 24% physical damage, as extra chaos damage. Players now game. Who cares about the players now game poison damage, right? So this is pretty bad. Aracali's Fang definitely lost a bunch of damage. But with the changes to poison being double the poison damage, it's probably going to come out around the same, right? It's not going to be as bad. I think in general they probably did get buffed just because of the poison changes. So I don't know. We'll see. I think this is pretty rough. The 4 seconds, previously 8. It's a lot of damage loss. We'll have to see how the Aracali's Fang. And personally, I didn't think the Aracali's Fang like Guardian build or anything like that was good. I think it really is only turning good once you get like the Squire, and that's a pretty expensive build. So I'm not sure it's gonna be worth it if you're spending money for the Squire. I don't think you're gonna get what you want to pay out of it. I think you should just do Animate Weapon Poison instead of Aracali's Fang. So not a good change to that one. Do not like. Albert's Warpath, unique boots, no longer has +1 to maximum number of skeletons. That kind of sucks. Instead, it now gains your skeleton warriors to be permanent minions and volley. So that's kind of interesting. It also now has 13 to 19 chaos, which is kind of nice, blah, blah, blah. And a little bit more move speed, which is kind of nice as well. This is pretty cool. This is... we'll talk about it later, but skeleton mages are pretty much dead. We'll talk about it when we get there. But regular skeletons could be interesting, and I think phantasmal skelly archers could be really good with if you're doing poison, and you might want to use these for permanent skelly archers. So an interesting combo there. Keep that one in mind. I think that's going to be an interesting build. Herald of Purity. Sentinel's Purities now deal approximately 50% more damage at all levels, so just a pretty solid boost there. Their Slam now has a 5-second cooldown, previously 6, nice little buff there, and 100% more area of effect, previously 80. So overall, just a pretty good buff here. It was already really, really strong as a single target bossing build, and it just got buffed. So I think Herald of Purity is going to be in a pretty good spot. The only problem here is that the Aura Reservation changes happened. I have not talked about that yet, but basically what happened is they removed some of the reservation efficiency points from the tree, and the mastery itself got lowered. So you're probably not going to be able to fit as many auras as you did before, probably one less aura. So that being said, with Herald of Purity, we'll have to see how many auras we're popping out with Herald of Purity. So even though it got a nice little buff there, I don't know, it might be a little bit harder to reserve your mana with this build now, so it probably isn't a weird, interesting spot. I think you'll have to big brain this one, but I think if you are able to big brain it, I think it'll be a pretty strong build. Summon Phantasms now deal approximately 20% more damage at all levels. Pretty crazy. Supported skills now have 20% chance to summon a Phantasm with skill or non-minions from supported skills hit a rare or unique enemy previous to 10. So I guess that's kind of nice. Sure, why not? That's just going to get your minions out a lot faster. Overall, just a really nice damage boost here. I definitely think the old Soul Rest build that a lot of people played a couple leagues ago is going to be really strong. It's also super easy to get that easy early League 6-link Soul Rest, because all you got to do is 6-socket it. You don't even have to 6-link it. I think you could even do a poison variant with the poison changes. So pretty cool. I think Soul Rest and Summon Phantasms in general are probably in a pretty good spot this league. I think they're going to be doing some solid damage. Okay. Carrion Golems. Not really many changes, honestly. It just kind of is talking about their life changes here. They got a buff to their life changes, but if you do remember, keep in mind that all minions got a life nerf, right? So in general, they're definitely going to have a little bit less life. But overall, I think Carrion Golems are in a pretty good spot. We'll talk about a little bit more when we get to the items. But long story short, the item that we used to use for Carrion Golems leveling, the Clay Shapers, got massively buffed. So early to mid game, and even potentially in the early stages of your quote-unquote end game, up until you get your in-game wands with the +2 and then a bunch of stats for minion damage and trigger socket spell, all that sort of stuff. Those Clay Shapers are gonna be bonkers. They have so much added physical damage to them. We'll talk about it when we get there. But because of that, I think that Carrion Golems are in a great spot this league. An absolutely great spot. So very good for early game and mid game. And it just transitions well to a pretty good in-game build. It's not going to be anything crazy. It's not going to be the damage of Absolution or Animate Weapon Poison. But it's just a super solid overall build. I'm happy with where it's at. Summon Chaos Golem. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I think it's kind of a meme. But I did get some damage boost. Cool. You know, got some crit. I don't know. We'll have to look at it and see if it seems pretty cool. I am probably going to play all the new golems just to see how they kind of changed them, but I don't know, it might be a meme, so I'm going to not talk about that one too much and just tell you basically that it did get a damage boost. We'll have to see if it's actually worth it or not. This one's fun though, Summon Flame Golem. So what we got here is, let's see here, the Golem will now be able to use, this is absolutely huge. The Golem will now be able to use its Mortar spell against targets in close range. Its Mortar spell now has an added physical or added damage effectiveness of 200, previously 100. That's massive. Its Incinerate spell now has damage effectiveness of 80, previously 20. Massive. Its Cone spell now deals approximately 30% more damage at all levels, and has 200% instead of 100, and has a base critical strike chance of 5 instead of 10, which is whatever. So the biggest thing there is the Mortar spell against targets in close range. It was already a decent skill, but it was pretty clunky to use because that Mortar skill is what does the most damage, and it has the most clear speed as well. But they just literally would not use it. They were just derping along if something got in their melee range, and it was pretty clunky. Now that they fixed this, their AI is going to be really good, I think. And I think Flame Golems are probably going to be pretty nice, especially because of the Ignite changes. So you're going to be doing Ignite damage with this for sure, so you can scale Ignite damage. I think this is going to be a pretty strong build, doing Summon Flame Golems. So I actually might do a League Starter video for this, because I'm pretty excited about that one. Did I do... Oh, you know, I forgot Summon Lightning Golem, but I'll go ahead and mention it. So Summon Lightning Golem did get a pretty big added damage effectiveness as well. I can't remember the numbers, but I do remember it being pretty big. And the reason I mentioned that, we'll talk about an item here that's coming up that made that be a big deal. So I think Flame Golem and Lightning Golem and Carrion Golem are actually going to be pretty good this league. Excuse me. Let's see. Summon Holy Relic. So Holy Relic, I thought this was going to be good this league, but I don't know. So Holy Relic's Nova spell has 250% increased effectiveness added damage. So blah, blah, blah. That is pretty good. It did get a little buff there. And what I do like here is 50% more life regen per second. So you're going to get a lot more life regen, which is pretty nice. But here's the thing. I'm going to even skip all that. Here's the bad news, right? They changed the Joffrey's helmet, and they nerfed the Joffrey's helmet. Feels bad. It's not like massive nerf, but the build was already like kind of just okay. Like it was incredibly cheap to get you up to red tier maps, but then you can invest so much currency in it, and it just wouldn't be that great. Now it's just going to be even less great, right? So I think it's just a pretty good mediocre build. And I don't know, there's so many other good options now that are new and fancy that I just don't think anybody should probably play it. I think just kind of experience some of the new fun stuff and have fun at it, but I don't know. I don't think Summon Holy Relic's the key. Okay, next one. This is a cool one. Summon Raging Spirit. No longer has minions gain 50% less added damage. So basically that's just a 15% more multiplier. Pretty solid. Now they also do 38% more damage. Previously 0, which is 38% more damage plus that 15. So we're talking a little bit math, but you know, upwards of 50% more multiplier right there. Pretty good. Minion base life is 20% higher at all levels. The problem with that, again, keep in mind that all minions got a 30% general lower life, so it's not as good as you would think. It's actually still less life than they normally get. Now costs 4 mana up to 16, so basically they're costing more mana. Again, that kind of sucks. In general, though, again, because of the ignite changes to minions, going a minion instability ignite build is going to be, I think, very good. It's going to be a super solid build. I think it's going to be A tier. Maybe S tier, probably just A tier. I think it's just going to be a really good build. I don't think it's going to be anything like, oh my god, this build is crazy. But I'm liking this change. I think it's going to be a pretty good league starter as well. I think it's going to feel really smooth to league start this. I'm potentially going to do SRS to level up until I get to switch over to my animate weapons, poison. So I'll probably be doing SRS until then. So I do think it's pretty solid, and I think anybody that wants to keep going with SRS, they're gonna have a great time. So yeah, and I'm definitely going to be doing a league starter video and guide for a Summon Raging Spirit Minion Instability build, so check that one out. Summon Reaper, as I mentioned, this did get a buff. If you guys remember, it got a, what was it, 700% increased damage from bleeding, which is woohoo, great. And it also got some changes here. It no longer grants 40% increased damage. It now grants 40% increased attack speed, so you're getting an additional 20% increased attack speed and move speed. And now it grants increased 30% or 30% increased area of effect, which is pretty good. It might help the clear speed a little bit, because if you guys have ever played that, it's incredibly clunky to play that build, because its AoE is pretty poo-poo, and I don't know, the clear speed is just really bad. I don't know, sure, it's going to be doing a lot of damage. There might be some fun builds out there that are like doing crazy bleed damage to bosses, but it's just not for me. It's such a clunky skill. Don't like it. Okay, Summon Skeletons. No longer gain 50% more added damage. That is one of the reasons that skeleton mages were so strong. So that alone is massive nerf. Now they also deal 25% less damage at level 20. Oh my god, guys, it's literally just, this build is dead. Skeleton mages in particular is absolutely dead. Yeah, goodbye. We will not see you for a while. Somebody could definitely still probably play like regular skeletons, I guess. I think phantasmal skeletons, like they turn into archers that do physical damage, I think those will be pretty good. But yeah, skeleton mages is absolutely dead. Massive nerf. Sure, you know, people are still like, they're gonna be fine. Sure, they're gonna be fine, but just fine. Don't play it. Trust me, don't play skeleton mages. You're not gonna have a good time. The Tavakai unique amulet now causes Summon Raging Spirits to do, basically the Tavakai in general was nerfed, which does suck, but if you can't remember, Summon Raging Spirits did get a pretty big buff, right? So it's kind of balancing that out. But I mean, look at this. This is really bad, man. The 25 to 40% increased maximum life, previously 80 to 100. And before, when divines were so cheap, you could divine up to 100% pretty easy. Now, if you guys have not, I'm sure you guys have heard the, oh, I actually have it right here, the Exalted and Divine Orbs. It's going to be basically what they did, long story short, is they're making divines be the new second most expensive currency, right? You obviously have like your mirror stuff, but it used to be like Exalteds, like that was the main trading item that people used. It's now going to be divines, and Exalted Orbs are probably going to be like, 15, 20, 30 chaos, and it's now going to be divines. What does that mean? It means it is going to be very difficult to divine all of our gear to get higher tier rolls. That's what they say they want. They want it to be like, if you get a unique that's got really high rolls, it's like, oh, that's really cool, which I kind of agree with, right? But at the same time, that really sucks, because like, let's say you get a 25% roll on this, like, oh my god, 25% compared to 100% last league, that is huge. So I don't know, that kind of sucks. So a bit disappointed with that, but I still think Summon Raging Spirit's going to be fantastic, and you have to use this amulet in order to play Summon Raging Spirit minion instability. So kind of keep that in mind. I think it's still good, but it does suck that got nerfed. Harvest. So rather than being presented with a selection of crafting options that must be used immediately, you now received itemized tradable life force of the appropriate color. This life force can be later used in your own time at the core crafting bench in your hideout, and crafting options are now priced in terms of itemized life force. This is like absolutely freaking amazing. I absolutely love this change. I'm actually going to start running Harvest in my maps. No, that kind of sucks for the TFT Discord, but what can you do? At least for that portion of the TFT Discord. Obviously, they do a lot of stuff in TFT Discord, but Harvest trading is now gone. You can do it all through the trade website, and all you have to do is trade the life force. So I love this change. Absolutely fantastic. It's going to be a lot easier to help us craft some of our gear, like getting better cluster jewels faster. Like, for example, right, if you reroll life on like a, just as an example, right, reroll life on a medium minion cluster, that gets you like a blessed rebirth really easy. So pretty good. And that's pretty good for absolution builds. Exalted Divine Orb changes. We already talked about that. Auburn's Warpath. So this one's pretty interesting. Like I mentioned earlier, we're getting now the permanent minions, which is pretty cool for your skeletons. I don't think it'll affect your Vol summon skeletons. We'll have to see, but I can't imagine that that would be the case. If it is, then that's absolutely broken. But if it's not, I think it's still cool for phantasmal skeleton archers. So kind of keep an eye out for that one. I might do a build for that eventually. The Bronze Lith unique body armor no longer has 50% increased attack speed, cast speed, used Minion Skill recently, whatever. It now has 5 level of socketed movement gems, previously 2. This is crazy, guys. Okay, this is for the Poison Arrow, Blink Arrow minion build. I think a lot of people have not played this, but this chest is crazy. You got a +3 gem level, so massive damage increase. And on top of that, I'm not sure if I have that in my notes here, but we can now roll Corrupted on all gear, body, boots, gloves, and helmet, +2 to socketed minion gems. And on top of that, we've always been able to do +2 to socketed duration gems. So technically, for some skills out there, you can get +4 if you double corrupt. If you get the God mode double corrupt, right? So if you got a +4 on this and then +5, that's +9 levels. Oh my god. I actually think this is going to be a pretty good build for Mirror Arrow, Blink Arrow. Same thing. I bet if you went Poison, Mirror Arrow, and Blink Arrow, I think that's actually a secret sleeper OP. The Clay Shaper. Everybody's talking about this one because it is absolutely awesome. Now they used to have, I can't remember, yeah, it was like 5 to 8, 12 to 16. Now it's 96 to 120, 138, or 132 to 160 added physical damage. That is bonkers, guys. So much added physical damage. Pretty interesting again with that divine change. If you're able to get one with like a high roll, I bet it's actually worth quite a bit. So if you guys find this item as you're leveling and it actually has a high roll, do not list it for like the lowest price that it's posted for. You actually need to list it probably higher. Make sure you adjust the rolls themselves, because I guarantee people will pay more money for a high rolled Clay Shaper. So super cool. I hope these are not too expensive. I guarantee they're going to be more expensive than they usually are, but I hope they're not going to be too expensive. We'll see. I do think this is fantastic for carrying golems, and carrying golems are going to be really, really strong early and mid league because of this item. The Covenant, unique body armor, no longer has socketed gems, cost and reserve life instead of mana. Instead, now socketed gems are supported by level 29 added chaos damage, and skills gain a base life cost equal to 100% of base mana cost. Okay, this is insane. This is one of the other reasons that animate weapon poison is going to be an S tier build. Level 29 compared to level 15, like, boys, do you understand how much damage that is? That is so crazy. And on top of that, it's going to be, we're basically going to be not having to use mana. We're going to be using life, which is very easily negated with some life regen. And the reason that's important is because our animate weapons mana cost did increase this league. So this is going to be a best in slot chess piece. If you're able to get like a +2 minion socketed and a +2 duration freaking Covenant dudes, that's probably mirror tier worthy. I would say that's probably more than mirror tier worthy. This is going to be the best item for that build. It's absolutely insane. And that's what I'm doing. I'm going to be using this and poison animate weapon. Okay, the Diala's Malefact. It's late. I can't speak. Unique body armor now has gem socketed by red sockets at +2 gem levels, previously 1. That's a pretty good boost right there. Gem sockets, gem socket and green sockets have 30% chance of 30% quality, previously 10, pretty good boost there. And gem socket and blue sockets gain 100% increased experience. So I think this is pretty cool. Basically what we get here is with the right double corruption, you're talking about a +6 body armor. Super cool. And if you do some of your supports, getting a 30% quality is really, really good. That's like almost even for some builds. Like for example, this is obviously not a minion build, but like Poison Spark. That's like build enabling for some skills out there. Because like an alternate quality spark gives it like crazy chance to poison or something. And that's like really big. So there's tons of ways that we can utilize that in minion builds as well. And it's also pretty cool to get this one, the blue socket. It gives 100% increased experience. You could put in like an awakened minion damage or something like that, and you'll get up to awakened minion damage level 5 much faster, basically 2 times as fast as you would in a different item. So pretty cool. I don't think it's like that crazy, but I think it's a pretty solid item. Joffrey's Crest unique helmet. This is the Summon Holy Relic one. Joffrey's Crest unique helmet no longer has +1 to level socketed gems. That is a rough one. So definitely damage loss there. Summon Holy Relic. You know what? I'm not 100% sure if that's too crazy. Maybe some of you guys that have played this will correct me on that one. Either way, Summon Holy Relics, this is another big nerf here. So Summon Holy Relics have 20 to 25% reduced cooldown recovery rate. That sucks. That's a damage loss. I think, again, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounds like a damage loss to me. And then it just talks about random stuff that has nothing to do with us. So generally, this is a nerf to Joffrey's Crest, at least from my small brain. For those of you guys that have played Holy Relic more than me, for sure, let me know if this actually is a nerf or if I'm reading this wrong. So you guys let me know on that one. This one, I absolutely love this one. No one's talking about this one, at least for the minion stuff, but the Immortal Flesh unique belt now has regeneration of 200 to 350 life per second, previously 66 to 75. Bros, that is insane. If you're able to snipe like a high life regen one, like this 350 is what some builds used to get like their entire build, and now you're getting it with one item that's already a decent item. It's got like 150 life or something on it. I'm gonna be using this for my build because if you remember, we're gonna be spending life instead of mana for the poison animate weapon build because of the chess piece. So this item right here is almost going to fully negate that life regen. It's a fantastic item. This is also a sleeper OP item. I hope this is not expensive because I'm going to be buying them, and I hopefully can snipe one that's pretty high up there. Really, really good build for any poison minion build this week. The Infernal Manton unique body armor no longer has 25-35 increased physical damage or increased fire damage. It now has +3 to level socketed fire gems, previously +1. 100% increase spell damage taken while on low mana. That freaking sucks. Previously 15. Interesting for SRS builds. So you're getting a +3 to socketed SRS, which is pretty cool. Kind of interesting, but that 100% increased spell damage taken when on low mana is really rough. You're probably going to have to do something like Eldritch Battery and then make sure that you do not go below low mana or you're going to get rocked. But yeah, kind of interesting for a Summon Raging Spirit with that +3. Pretty cool. The Summon Spectre Wolves from Law of the Wild's unique claw now attack faster. I've actually never played this build. I do think Gazzy has played this build, so do check out his build if you're interested in that build. Basically, in general, I just got a damage buff, so kind of cool. The Learcast unique helmet now has, where's the big one here? Nearby allies gain 50% increased damage, previously 15. So that's pretty big deal. So now it's a cheap, pretty solid damage boost to your Animate Guardian. Problem is, I never really suggest people to use Animate Guardians with cheap items, because it's just gonna die. It's really not worth it until you get the Doppelganger chest to make your Animate Guardian almost immortal. At that point, sure, you can do some cool fancy stuff, but I don't know. Until then, I just really don't recommend people do it, but either way, I think that's a cool little buff, 50% increased instead of 15, and it's a cheap item, right? So, good stuff. Mark of the Red Covenant unique helmet no longer has minions have 25-45% increased movement speed. It now has Summons Raging Spirits deal 175 to 250% increased damage, compared to 130 to 150. Big damage boost here. Same thing, if you get a high rolled one of these, it's going to be worth way more if you get a low rolled, because every divine that you spend on this to get like that high roll, essentially pretend like you're spending an Exalt every time you divine it, right? It's crazy. So yeah, much more expensive to get a high roll here. If you guys find a high level one, do not sell it for the price that you see like the low ones, right? I think this is pretty good. It's nothing crazy, but it is a pretty good helmet for SRS that are not doing minion instability, that are just doing like the regular old attack, but you could still do ignite damage with those. So it is definitely used, and it will be a good helmet. I never pronounce this right. Side Breath unique amulet no longer has minions 10% and 50% movement speed. Blah blah blah. What is now good is instead has 50% conversion of physical to cold, and minions deal no non-cold damage. But it has minions now deal 25 to 35 to 65 to 65 cold damage. That is crazy. And this is if you guys remember, this is a level 1 item. That is bonkers for early leveling. Super solid. These are usually like under 1 chaos. So if you can find one of these or even pick one up for 1 chaos, if you're doing something like a physical build, like zombies, skeletons, even early carrion golems, stuff like that, super good. The Wraith Lord unique helmet no longer has minions regenerate 1% life per second, whatever, or 1000 Spectre life. That kind of sucks, because if you remember, they lost a lot of life in the first place, and they were already squishy, so losing that, ugh, I don't know, your Spectres are just going to freaking die, I think. Anyways, it now cannot have non-minion Spectres, or non-Spectre minions, so no Animate Guardian, no zombies, no nothing, but you get +2 to maximum number of Spectres. I do think this is a pretty interesting item, and you get this at like level 34 too, so in the campaign, kind of interesting. I don't like this one because it makes me sad, because it was a pretty good leveling unique, but at the same time it could open up some interesting builds for Spectres, because as we all thought, Spectres were going to be kind of dead this league, but maybe not. You could do stuff like any Spectre that is going to abuse like ignite damage, poison damage, so like the Goatman for fire damage. I do think this could be an interesting for the fire Goatman with ignite damage, and getting that early could be kind of cool, but we'll see on that. Either way, interesting change. Let's see here. Solution, reduce the okay, so now we're done with the items themselves. We just kind of have a couple extra little tidbits that I thought were interesting. One of their problems that they thought, here's one of the solutions. So reduce the values of spell suppression granted by item modifiers, increase the amount of spell suppression granted by passive skills on the tree. The problem with this is that some of our super in-game builds, we were able to get 100% spell suppression, which honestly was a little scummy. I mean, I don't think we should be able to do that as minion builds that are nowhere near like the dexterity side of the tree. So honestly, I think this is fine. Not a big deal. Arctic armor now gains 11 to 21% less damage taken from hits while stationary, compared to 11 to 20. Oh, I'm sorry, previously 8 to 13. Now it's 11 to 20. So honestly, that's pretty solid, especially if you're doing like AFK blight farmers. Taking 20% less fire and physical damage is pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. That's really solid. So I think that's kind of interesting, specifically for AFK blight farmers. I'm not sure it's good for anybody else, but for those guys, pretty good. Flesh and Stone now makes you take 11 to 50% less damage from attacks. It was previously 9 to 11, so not too bad. The problem is, if you remember what I said earlier, we got a little bit screwed on our mana reservation this league, so we're probably not going to be able to fit that into our build anyway. Kind of sucks. The Matua Tupuna unique shield no longer has spreads tar. Take a critical strike, now spreads tar when you block. And also has 20% increased effect of non-curse from your skills on your minions, and 20% increased effect of non-cursed auras from your skills. So pretty good. It's honestly not a bad shield now, until you get maybe something like, you know, your in-game shield. It's potentially not a bad shield, especially if you're like block capped. You're going to be spreading tar all the time, so kind of good. I kind of like that change. It's not an in-game item, but I think it's something that's pretty solid until you get your in-game shield. The Montreal's Grasp unique scepter for raised zombies now deal 100 to 125% more physical damage, previously 80 to 100, so a nice damage boost there. And here's the crazy part: enemies killed by zombies hits explode daily 50% of their life as fire damage, previously 20%. So this is just bonkers. This is a really good item for zombies. Basically, it's like a free, I don't know, they're literally gonna, when they kill one minion, it's gonna chain and just explode everything around it. That, on top of the fact that Ignite was buffed this league, I think this is actually going to be a pretty interesting and nice build. Zombie Ignite build. Pretty cool. The Nicanta's Lantern unique scepter, no longer socketed gems, supported by 10 fire penetration. Plus 2 level socketed fire gems or socketed gems deal blah blah blah. Wait. Yeah. It now adds... Am I reading this wrong? Hold on. It now adds a whole bunch of fire damage and grants Battle Mage. Yeah, I don't know why I put this on. I think I actually read that one wrong. Let's take that one out. Nobody saw that. The Reservation Rod now has socketed gems are supported by level 10 Control Destruction and socketed gem by level 10 Arcane. Pretty cool. This used to be just kind of I think it was just socketed by Spell Echo, basically, essentially. So it was like kind of like a free 4-link, but now it is basically a 6-link. So pretty cool. That's not too bad, especially for like an SRS build where you can get an early Spell Echo, which is pretty solid. It's not going to get like the Arcane Surges. I mean, I guess that's going to kind of help because the mana is going to be a little bit rough. But yeah, I think that's not too bad for an early SRS leveling unique. The Skullhead unique armor, the Skullhead unique helmet. Basically what we have going on here is they're going to be getting a ton of extra block and spell block chance for your minions, and they recover 10% of their life when they block. Pretty good. This is honestly, it used to be 10% chance to block that stuff. Now it's 25. Pretty good. That's not bad, but the problem is that's a helmet slot, and there are so many better options for helmets, so I would not use this personally. Here's a crazy one. The Thunder Fist unique gloves. Holy moly, this one is crazy, boys. It now has, where is it? It now has socketed gems are supported by level 30 added lightning damage. Now, if you can remember, they are generally buffing a lot of skills, a lot of minion skills with their added, their effective added damage. So, for example, the two big ones here are, of course, Absolution and Lightning Golem. The top one, of course, there being Absolution. If you throw an Absolution in this as your, like, you know, before you get a 6-link chest, it's crazy. It's actually crazy. Level 30. It used to be 18. So this is going to be your upgrade before you get a 6-link chest. And it's honestly probably even going to be maybe even better than a 6-link chest. especially if you corrupt it for +2 to socketed minion gems. Holy moly, can you imagine? Super, super good. So I think this is going to be very good for Absolution builds until you get your 6-link. If I was doing Absolution, I would rock it 4-link and Thunder Fist gloves. I think it would do just crazy damage. And you know what? One thing we actually did not... I'll talk about this, and then I'll talk about the crazy other thing here. But anyways, the Vol Crest unique gloves now have where is it? +5 to level socketed Vol gems, previously 2. And you gain onslaught for 20 seconds when using a Vol skill gem. So this is actually pretty good. You could put your Vol haste in here. Haste actually got buffed this league. So it's giving you... excuse me. It's giving you more movement speed and more attack and cast speed. So haste is actually an option. I might actually use haste in my build. We'll see. It's pretty good. So you could put like Vol haste in there. You could put Vol discipline. You could put all your Vol purities in there. You could put Vol molten shell, and it would get +5 levels. That's pretty crazy, especially like a Vol discipline, a +5 level there. Pretty solid. So just kind of keep that in mind. That's pretty cool. And the one thing I didn't put on my notes here, but it is the craziest thing about the whole shebang, is Doriani's prototype. This has got to be, unless it like, I hope that maybe some of you guys can snipe this. This is like a long ass video. How long is this? 50 minutes. If you've watched this whole thing up until right now, maybe some people are out there talking about it. I don't know, but I watched a couple videos and I have not seen people talk about this yet. It's going to be freaking insane. With the new league mechanic, you're now able to get -resist on rings and amulets very easily by reversing them, right? So let's say you have like 56% lightning resist on a ring, and you put it in the new league mechanic, like a little altar thing, and she reverses it. You now have -56, and sometimes that could even double. Wait, not double. I think not double, but it could, like, for example, they showed on the video they did for the league introduction, they showed a ring with like -76% lightning resist. So imagine getting 2 of those, and also on your amulet, you're at negative, like, holy freaking moly, 210% lightning resist on a Doriana's prototype, which makes enemies near you have the same elemental resistances as you. So if you're -200% lightning res, holy moly, that is so much damage. So yeah, any build using Doriani's prototype chess piece is gonna be bonkers now. So the fact that Absolution is getting some good stuff this league, I think that with Doriani's is going to be pretty bonkers. I think it's going to be one of the top tier bossing builds, and just in general, I think it's going to be an easy S tier build this league. You could also use the Doriani's prototype for builds, any lightning builds. So you could even do the, what's it called? The lightning golem. I keep saying that, and I'm curious to see if it'll be good. But it just got so much more effective added damage. It's got to be good, man. It's got to be good. Imagine this. Putting your Absolution or your Lightning Golem in a Thunder Fist and having like a 4-link Doriani's prototype. I think that combo is going to be bonkers. I think that is going to carry you to Uber bosses. I'm going to say it. I think that's going to carry you to Uber bosses if you have like some decent negative resist rings, which I think are going to be super easy and super cheap this league. So I think that power spike is just crazy. And anybody that does that build is gonna like just pass everybody else. So I think that's the hidden OP. Maybe like everybody's talking about this, and I'm not special. it's definitely possible. But I saw that and I was like, holy moly, Doriana's prototype is gonna be crazy. All right, that's all I got for this one. To kind of recap here, minions are gonna be great this league. There's several new minion builds. They're gonna be really fun to play. I personally am very likely going to be doing animate weapon poison build. I haven't decided the ascendancy, probably Scion, and go a little bit more damage focused. We'll see, I'm not sure, but that'll be what I'm doing as League Start. I'm of course going to be streaming the whole weekend, so come on over and check that out, see how it's going. I'm going to be leveling up as SRS until I get that chess piece. Once I get that, even a 4-link, I'm going to switch over to Animate Weapon Poison, and we'll go from there with the Ghastly Jewels and chance to poison with those. and then fully transition once I get the weapon from the Cheola Breachstone, and then I'm going to farm Cheola Breachstones for even more of those Severed Sleep weapons. So yeah, that's kind of my plan. I'm also going to make a League Starter video for Absolution, so I will make one of those, and I will make a League Starter video probably for, I don't know, maybe all of the Golems together, because I know Flame Golem, I think it's going to be strong. I think Lightning Golem could be strong. And Carrion Golem is definitely going to be strong too. I don't know, I might make individual videos. I'll probably make individual videos for them all, but definitely check those out. And the last one I'm going to do is on SRS Minion Instability video as well. So definitely some guides coming out that'll be pretty cool. If you guys have stuck through this full 54-minute video, you guys freaking rock. I actually started this video and I'm like, okay, I took really good notes. This is going to be like a 20-minute video. Everything's going to be easy peasy. Here we are at 55 minutes later. Oh my god, there's just so much to talk about because there are a lot of really cool changes coming in this league, so I'm pretty excited. I think the league itself is going to be really fun. They've announced some stuff that sound really good, so I'm pretty excited for that. If you guys are excited too, definitely let me know in the comments. All of that algorithm jazz, hit the like button, subscribe, all that baloney, do all that. It does help out. Appreciate that. But yeah, and also, like I said, I'm streaming on Twitch, so come by, hang out there. Ask questions all you want. I'm always here for you guys to ask questions. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the League Starter videos here coming out in the next couple days. I will catch you guys later.